But I want to pass over to my first speaker, who's talking on behalf of the SNP, and that's Marco Baigi.
It's okay, it's no problem.
Wow. It's been 8 days. 8 days since the result, and 8 days since Scotland changed. And I'm an SNP MSP. Very often in important days and important times, we wear a little white rose. The little white rose has a lot of associations. One of them is with the Jacobites that used to grow bushes of white roses outside their houses to identify themselves to other Jacobites. But this is not a movement that needs to happen in secret. But there's another association of that rose in the Hugh McDermott poem. The rose of all the world is not for me. I want for my part only the little white rose of Scotland that smells sharp and sweet and breaks the heart. And last Friday, I think there was a lot of heartbreak. There were a lot of tears shed. But those tears fell on the ground that something can grow on. Because we should not today think about how we felt that Friday, the pain of defeat. We should think instead of the hope and the joy and the expectation that we had on the Thursday. That vision for a new Scotland, that hope that was expressed by so many and which had mobilised so many who had never been involved in politics before. That was an astonishing campaign. This country has seen nothing ever before like it. That is down to you. And it wasn't just the events, the carnivals, the street stalls, all those people knocking doors or handing out leaflets. There are numbers out there, hard numbers, that came to us from a Tory peer who is no friend of Scotland, no friend of independence, that says we won over the people that hadn't made up their minds by 2-1, that people moved from no to yes 3 times more than people moved from yes to no, because we put forward those visions, that ideal of what Scotland could be. And the other side know that. The other side know how risky, how close it was. They talk sometimes now about the settled will of the people. The settled will of the people was the creation of that building behind you. The settled will of the people there, 75% of them said a Scottish Parliament. 67% rejected AV, the same even back in the 70s, the UK being in the EEC. This was 55%. This was narrow. This was squeaky bum time for the No campaign. And we will show them again. Because it's one thing to say that's the referendum, we lost, we move on. But if we'd won, if it had been a yes, the struggle would have gone on as well. Because you don't change a country just by changing a flag. You change a country by changing its politics, by taking new decisions and going in a different direction. So just as if there had been a yes vote, the struggle would have gone on, so that there has been a no vote, the struggle too must go on. The Parliament that is behind you is behind you. Westminster has never been on the side of the people of Scotland except by accident, because we do not decide who has the power there. But we do, as the people living in Scotland, decide who has the power here. This Parliament has done many things, and many of you might disagree with some of them. That's fair. We are many, many different yeses, but we have been united by that yes. But what happens next? What happens next is that we may continue to disagree over the best things to do in that Parliament, but we will agree that that Parliament must be stronger, that the promises that came from the No campaign as they desperately scrabbled around to find some way to head off the Yes bandwagon are honoured at the very least. Because again, going back to those numbers, those uncomfortable numbers for the other side, if every person who said they voted no because of the promise of better powers had voted yes, we would have won with 58% of the vote. So that is a sword of Damocles that hangs over the three Westminster parties. It is a promise they made and on which they won a referendum, and they have to deliver, and we have to make sure they deliver. But I tell you this, I did not come into politics. I did not start campaigning. I did not join the Scottish National Party for more powers. I joined and got involved in politics for the restoration of Scotland's nationhood, the creation of a sovereign country that can deliver for all of its people on all of the things that we expect from a government. So they talk about giving us income tax powers and maybe a bit of control over the work programme and deciding how our elections are fought to the Scottish Parliament, and maybe we might get our own health and safety executive. No, that is not what we were campaigning for. That is not what captured the imagination of 1.6 million people. That is not what bought off hundreds of thousands more. And the great challenge for those opponents of Scottish independence is not just to deliver, to agree, to overcome all their difficulties and deliver what was promised. It is that when and if that is delivered, people in Scotland will see just how inadequate that offer was. An offer that that newspapers echoed as being Devo Max, obedient that they were, is no such thing. And that what we want, the powers to rebuild this country, to make it the kind of country we want to live in, are not coming from Westminster anytime soon. That will expose them for what they are, and we all have to be part of that. We won the argument in the last referendum. They know that winning the vote but losing the argument is not a real victory, and we know that winning the argument but losing the vote is not a real defeat. When the time comes, we have to be ready, which doesn't mean sitting on our hands. It means campaigning for more powers to keep them honest, to expose the no parties when their promises don't materialise, but also to lay the groundwork for that next vote when it comes. Because Scottish independence is only ever going to come by a vote of the people. And it's going to need to be more than 45% next time. We need 50%. I'd love 60, I'd love 70, but we need 50%, which means we need networks, we need alliances, we need the friendships and relationships that were born in this campaign to endure. Frankly, we need an alternative media that will put across what we want to hear and what is the truth for the people in this country. Jim Sellers said something in this campaign. He said a lot of things I disagreed with, but he hit on a wonderful, wonderful summary of what the referendum vote was when he said that true power, ultimate power, is in the hands of the people of Scotland for 15 hours one day in September, and they vote either to have that power forever or to give it back. And we may think, after this referendum that they have voted to give it back. But by having that power, by asking that question, and by the future being decided in the way it was, the no parties have conceded, whatever Jack Straw might write, that true power lies in the hands of the voters of this country. And they have not given it back to Westminster. They have lent it. They have lent it in a faith and in hope and on promises. And that is going to only be met by disappointment. So where there is disappointment, let us bring alternatives. Where there will be more disillusionment, let us keep the flame of the hope of the Yes campaign alive, because that is why people came out from all around Scotland, why they came out from Craigmillar and Niddrie and Pilton and Muirhouse and voted for the first time, because there was a campaign that wanted to change things. There was a campaign that was on their side. And one day, I don't know if it will be 8 years or 18 or whenever, but one day that is coming, we will gather here again, and we will not be rallying about what to do after a no vote. We will be rallying about what to do after a yes vote. And when that day comes, when Trident is gone from the Clyde and from the world, when food banks are going to war by people we didn't elect, I want to see this place then renamed Independence Square, to be honest. But I want to see us all look back and think we didn't stop campaigning for what we believed in 2014. We campaigned on, we fought on, and in the end, we won that Scotland that we all dared to dream of.